Today I'm going to show you how to use and put together a Hygeia EnDeare breast pump. So this pump is actually very similar to the Lactina, Medela Lactina breast pump, and you can check my video for how to use one of those. So I've got all the pieces laid out here. So you'll see we've got bottles, we've got flanges, connectors, all kinds of pieces. So when you're getting ready to pump, you're going to first choose which flange size you want, and your pump will probably come like mine did with mediums and larges, and you can just choose which one feels best, try them both, see which one's the most comfortable. Right now I'm just going to set it up with the larges, so I'll put the mediums off to the side. So these are the larges, and the first thing I'm going to do is put them into these connector pieces right at the top here. So I'll connect that one and that one, okay? And then the next piece is you actually have a choice. There are what I would kind of call regular valves, and then there are these that the Hygeia pump has that are called duckbill valves. Now the duckbill valves, you push them inside this cylinder here. They don't wrap around it. They push inside, and you would just push them both in like that. An advantage to the duckbill valves is it seems to be that you can get more suction from the pump if you're using these valves. A disadvantage that I've heard of is that for moms with a really fast flow, really strong letdown, you can actually fill up the pump. Sometimes this doesn't let the milk out fast enough, and then you can end up filling up your tubes with milk or filling up your flange with milk. So if you have a really fast flow, these might not be the ones for you, but if you need really strong suction, give them a try. So the other valves also have, you'll see this orange membrane on them. This comes off, and you can just stick it right back on. And these, your pump will come with extras of these because these are the most likely thing to wear out or break on your pump. It's good to inspect them once in a while when you're cleaning your pump and just make sure, because sometimes they can have really tiny cracks in them, okay? But you should have extras. Okay, so I'm going to put these on. It doesn't matter which way around they go. You can just stick these on, and these go on the outside of the little cylinder that's in there. You just stick them on like that. And then we're going to connect them to the bottles. Now the bottles come with lids, which is useful. Once you're done pumping, you can just put a lid on and put it in the fridge if that's what you want to do. And so what we're going to do is screw the flange and the connector onto the bottle, onto each bottle like this. And then we're almost ready to pump. Now, the next piece I'm going to show you is this piston. And the piston is what is going to provide the suction for our pump. And you'll see on it right here, you can't read it from there, but it says strength on it. And then it's got dots along here. So if you put this arrow down at the smallest number of dots, down by 1 dot, that means that the suction on this is not going to be as strong as it'll be if you move it up. Up here would be the most suction, the strongest vacuum you would get from this pump, and down here would be the weakest. So I'm going to actually start it on 1 dot, on the lowest suction. And I also want to show you that if you ever wanted to hand pump for any reason, you could, just by screwing this piston onto the back of the pump, and then you could just start using your pump like that. And that works fine if the electricity's out or if you need to go somewhere and you don't want to bring the whole thing. You can use that as a hand pump. Okay, but most of the time you're going to want to pump with the machine, and you're probably going to want to double pump. So what we need to do that is use this orange connector and screw the piston into that. Okay, and then we've got these tubes, which are what is going to connect the piston to the pump. So there's this white thing on here that you can use. There are 2 holes here, and you can use it to cover up one of the holes. That's what you would do if you wanted to just pump one breast. You would take your tubing, connect it to this hole, you'd shove that on there, and then you take the orange end and connect it to the flange down here, push that in, and then you could set up your pump and pump with just one breast. Most of the time though, you're going to want to use both breasts when you pump. So you can take this white flap off and connect the other tube. Now you connect the tube that doesn't have an orange connector. That's the end you connect to this part of the pump. And then the orange end is what you connect to the flange. Like this, you kind of have to push it pretty firm to get it in there. Okay, so now you've got your pump connected to, you've got the piston connected to the bottles. Now you're going to go ahead and put that, there's a hole in the front of the pump here. You're going to just stick this in there and then put this in here. Once again, if you didn't have electricity, if for some reason you couldn't run your pump, you could have an assistant help you pump. You would just put these on your breasts and then somebody else could help you by just double pumping for you. So you would be able to do that. But most of the time you're going to want to use the machine. So you can put this in the hole and then stretch this out and fit this into the arm here like this. Okay? And then you can check my other videos for how to use ponytail holders to pump hands-free. Or you can always cut out, like if you have an old sports bra that you don't care about, cut slits in it so that you can then connect the pump to your breasts and then start pumping. I definitely recommend pumping hands-free. And so then you'll see on the pump, there's this dial here. And it goes from a big, wide orange area down to a thin orange area. And that's the speed that the pump is going to pump with. So we have two controls. We have this strength, which is how strong the pump is going to be, and this is how fast the pump is going to be. So I recommend that when you first start pumping, you put it on the lowest strength and the highest speed. This is to try to mimic a baby when they first start breastfeeding while they're waiting for the letdown. They suck quickly and light. So you can turn on the pump and it's pumping quickly with light vacuum. And then once you start to feel your breasts let down, you might feel tingling or pressure or something. Some women don't feel anything, but you will start to see sprays going into the bottle. Once you, or you might just wait 2 or 3 minutes. But once you feel your letdown coming, what you can then do is reduce the speed to maybe about halfway along. You want a slower speed because once your breasts let down, a baby will start sucking more slowly. And then you want to increase the vacuum. So what I recommend is that you go up to the strongest vacuum that's comfortable for you, the strongest suction that's comfortable for you. Some moms will actually go to where they're just a little bit uncomfortable and then go back just to make sure that they're on the strongest suction that is comfortable for them. So then once you're done pumping, what you can do is turn the pump off, disconnect the pump from your hands-free pumping, and then disconnect these tubes and put your milk to the side for a minute. And then it doesn't matter if you wind these up or not. I like to just kind of wrap them up loosely and tuck them in here. Because then what you want to do while you're dealing with your milk, like pouring it into bags or pouring it into bottles or whatever, is it's a good idea to put this back up to the fast speed and this back down to the low suction, and then run the pump again for a minute or two. And the reason for that is it pushes and pulls air through these tubes. These tubes can get some moisture inside them, condensation, and running the pump like that for a minute or two while you're dealing with your milk will clear that condensation out so that they'll be nice and dry and you won't get any mold or anything in there. So all of these parts, if you're renting this pump or borrowing this pump, all of these parts that I've showed you, the tubing, the piston, the connectors, all of this stuff you will keep when you return the pump. This is the only part of the pump that you'll return. These are all single user. You won't use these with anybody else. And then when you're done with your pump, you can just wipe it off with some all-purpose spray and put it back in the bag and then return it to wherever you've borrowed it or rented it from. So this has been how to put together and use a Hygeia EnDeare breast pump.